G'day, everybody. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Technical difficulties. I am just making sure I'm going live on all of my platforms. My computer is not cooperating today. I swear it's not me. I have turned it on and off again a few times, I promise. My brother-in-law is an IT expert, so he always gives me the right advice. So please just bear with me. Good evening. Hope everyone's well on this Wednesday, hump day. Getting to the end of the week. I have a lot to get through. I'm so sorry I missed my usual Sunday night stream. I was so sick, but I'm feeling much better now. Thank you for everyone's health advice. I really need to find someone to help me with all of this IT stuff. I'm boomering it already. I knew there would be a live stream where I boom it up, and here I am. Save. Bloody Instagram, it never wants to work for me. G'day everyone, I'm Kate Fantanell or Lady Liberty. Thank you for joining me this evening. Apologies again for missing my Sunday night stream. Couldn't even talk, and yeah, it takes a lot to keep me down, so just couldn't do it. But I'm back and I'm live on Instagram now. Yay, look at me go. Awesome, cool. Well, welcome to my usual Q&A session. I made a promise to myself that because I've been so outspoken and so active for so long, I thought it was time for me to do these weekly live streams to talk to you directly, my followers, supporters, people who don't support me but want to see what I'm saying. That's fine. Hello to you too. It's been a big week, lots to talk about. I will provide an update on my legal action challenge, of course. Thank you so much to everyone who's donated so far. We are halfway there. It does cost a lot of money to launch legal action, so I'm still keeping at it. I have been so honored to have the support of so many gun clubs and gun ranges and gun shops as well who have reached out to me. Apparently there's some posters in the gun shops in WA promoting my legal action. I've already got a question from Zane. You come across as a lefty. Is that accurate? No, sorry, Zane. I'm not right-wing and I'm not left-wing. I'm an anarcho-capitalist these days. I was a libertarian for a long time, but I've left that part of my life behind me because I don't trust the state in any form, big or small. There's no such thing as small government. I believe in individual rights and personal responsibility and keeping the government out of our lives so we can live peacefully without the threat of violence and voluntary cooperation. That's what I'm all about. So I do agree with the left on some issues. I'm a big fan of Legalised Cannabis Party, especially in WA. I'm proud to say I'm a member of the party there. Dr. Brian Walker has been so strong on the gun laws, and I thank him again for his commitment to that. A big believer in legalizing cannabis for recreational personal use, not just medicinal, where we are in Australia at the moment. So I do have things that I do agree with from the left and from the right, but I'm an individualist, anarcho-capitalist, if you want to look up what that means, but just a peaceful person who wants people to be left alone by the government. That's where I sit on the political spectrum. I hope that answers your question. I am still in my dad's gun room. Oh, sorry, getting tongue-tied. I'm still a bit tired. In my dad's gun room, moved things around a bit. Yes, that's a Beretta case behind me. That's me shooting a belt fed from my Lady Liberty calendar. That's still available on my website if you want to grab one. Got my belt fed necklace on. So, best day of my life, second only to my marriage, of course, my wedding to Mr. Liberty. So, yeah. So, I did want to just say that I did go to an event this week in South Australia where I am at the moment. And yes, I know everyone's anxiously waiting for me to come back to Western Australia. I will be back on the 24th of February. Locked in, not going to change. I will be there. Cannot wait to be back in WA. I'm so excited. I have an Upper House Firearms Forum Town Hall event that I'll be talking about tonight as well. That's on the 27th of February. So back in Perth. Cannot wait to see all my friends again. Haven't been in Perth since March last year, so it will be nearly a year since I left. Really looking forward to being on the ground, especially ahead of the election on the 8th of March. I had to come back for that. I'm still a resident there. That was the last place I lived. Haven't been in one place for more than a month since March last year. So coming back to WA to vote, to see my family and friends and all my candidate friends. So exciting times ahead. I did go to an event this week while I'm still in South Australia here with my parents. We did have a really bad bushfire the other night. I put some pictures up about 35 k's away in a national park. So not sure if the national park was prepared for that kind of bushfire, as a lot of hunters who I know listen to me know they are not kept up, managed as well as we would like. I believe that the community around national parks should be the ones who manage it, and they should be open for all Australians, not locked up just for a few to use. Yes, Zane, I agree. I'm at the point where I hold zero faith in our elections. WA, my shit state. I don't have any faith in the political solution either. I've worked in politics for a long time now, longer than I care to admit. But yes, it's hard because the people that we elect don't seem to represent us. They represent their own views, the views of their parties, the views of their factions, the views of big business. So I also have lost a lot of faith in Australian politics. Viva the revolution. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm already on a list, so I'll say it. I hope one day Australia becomes a republic and we can have our own constitution. No, not a constitution written by politicians or the lawyers, but a constitution where the people get to vote on every aspect. Yes, I would love a First Amendment. Yes, I would love a Second Amendment, because you can't have free speech without the means to defend it. So I really think one day we will get to the point in Australia, especially for the younger generation. We can't afford to buy a house. We've heard all those stories. A lot of people are suffering. I know in the area that I'm currently in at the moment, the local bank manager said that 81% of people are under mortgage stress. 81%. And he said 4 years ago it was something like 8%. So that just shows you how hard it is for Australians at the moment. I'm part of the club that can't really afford a place to live. I'm on the road. Technically, I'm homeless, but living on the road, staying with family and friends, traveling around this great country until I work out my next plan. But yes, I hope one day we will get to the point in Australia where we have people who are elected that represent us, and we have a constitution of rights, so they can't trample all over their liberties like they've been doing for some time now. And especially in my home state of Western Australia, what's happened there, it's turned into a total police state. I'm horrified with what's happened there. I get a lot of messages from Western Australians still, because that is where my passion is, especially with the gun laws. So I feel your pain. I'll just tell my quick story about where I went this week in South Australia. I went to a Nuclear for Australia event, an organisation that wants nuclear power legalised in Australia. They had Grace Stanke, who was Miss America in 2023. She was just incredible. She is a nuclear scientist as well as a beauty queen. She spoke so well about her passion for advocating for that safe, clean, reliable form of energy. She was a bit surprised that Australia is so far behind, and especially when we have the second highest uranium reserves in the world in South Australia, where I was born, at Olympic Dam. That's the second highest reserves of uranium. So we have it here ready to go, but we export most of it. Some of it is used for medical facilities. We do have the power station there, not power station, but the medical facility in Sydney that has used uranium and nuclear for some time. So I'm very passionate about that. I've been, in my former life, I worked for the South Australian Chamber of Mines and Energy, which is similar to the Chamber of Minerals and Energy in Western Australia, so a mining lobby group. So I learnt a lot about nuclear power there, and it's sad to see I worked there back in 2010, so a long time ago now, and we haven't really progressed that much in terms of a policy for nuclear power for Australia. So if she is coming to your town, I know she's been to Perth, Melbourne, Brisbane. I think she was in Adelaide the other night. Highly recommend or look her up. She's just an inspiration, and she spoke about some of the criticism she gets for advocating for that, and how hard it's been for her to push on with so many critics. So I can understand that, being what I advocate for in terms of individual rights and especially firearm owners' rights. I get a lot of hate too. So I definitely connected with her on that level. And it was just great to see her come all the way to Australia to talk about something that, quite frankly, the rhetoric has been just appalling from our politicians, this scare campaign. And this is what they do a lot of the time. It's all about fear and brainwashing people into believing one thing. There's never a debate which is focused on the evidence. And we saw that as well last week with the gun report from Gun Control Australia, who put out that report trying to scare people about the number of legally held firearms that Australians have. Legally, I stress that. The vetting process for getting a licensed firearm in Australia is, I would say, too onerous, to be honest. But the fact that the anti-gun lobbies still try and scare everyday Australians into thinking that the number of guns is something that people should be scared of, when we are so safe. We're one of the safest activities in Australia, because we have to be, if we do anything wrong, we get our guns taken off us. So I get very frustrated with the debate, and it's similar in the nuclear debate too. So that's what I have been up to. I have some questions already. Elliot, hi Kate, are you able to talk about what happened in Queensland? Understand if you can't. Yes, so I left WA, I left Perth in March last year to head up to sunny Queensland, spent some time with my good mate Aussie Reviews, which was great because I'd only met him once in my life, but we have such similar views, and it was great to spend time with him at his farm, and I'm so grateful that he housed me there and looked after me. He's a true gentleman, and a true fighter. So I spent time with him, then headed up to Townsville to work on the Katters state election campaign. Wasn't there as long as I wanted to be. I did know Bob Katter from back in the day when I worked for Senator David Leyonhjelm, so it was like reuniting with an old friend. And when he talks about gun control in Australia, it's just incredible. I think I've said this in one of my streams before. He is just so focused, like sharp as a tack. I know his crazy Uncle Bob, but when you get him talking about firearms, honestly, we the same views, and he's just so intelligent. So it was great to see him again. Unfortunately, I have legal threats against me, so I cannot talk about that at the moment. I hope to be in a position one day to share what actually happened up there, because it was personally and professionally devastating to me. It left me homeless, unemployed, almost destitute. It was a very dark time. I'm surprised I got out of there alive, to be honest, but it was because I had strong supporters who looked after me when I asked for help. And yeah, the Katters only got their 3 back in, so I won't say any more about that at the moment, but I promise you, one day when I can, I will be sharing that story as a warning, and so people know what politics is like. Yes. So, all right, I'll get back into my list of things to talk about tonight. I just wanted to provide a legal action update. So I have launched my fundraiser to challenge Paul Papalia's gun laws in the courts in WA. I launched this after considering the situation, including the political situation. A lot of people are probably already aware that I was considering running as an independent against Police Minister Paul Papalia at the upcoming election. But I didn't have the support of the shooting organisations behind me. I did have the support of key minor parties who are going to endorse me as an independent, which is just incredible and unheard of in Australia, apart from Ian Cook against Dan Andrews, which I've spoken about before. So I had to look at the situation. I am helping candidates over there, and I am involved in some lobbying to help change, especially the upper house. There is a focus on the upper house because the reality is Liberal and the Nationals, if they go into a proper coalition again, they can't form government alone. They have to grab all these seats back. It went so far in 2021, and we all know that election was on keeping the border closed. That's what it was about. There was nothing about the gun laws, no hint of that happening, nothing about how much of a police state WA would become. That election was purely about keeping the border closed. So I just want people who aren't from WA to keep that in mind when they look at the upper and lower house there, because it's terrifying. It's a red wave. It's a one-party state. And they've ran through legislation. I mean, some things just went through in a day. That's not how democracy should work. You need the House of Review. You need other parties to challenge the government. We have not seen that in WA for 4 years. So this is why we are at the point we are at in WA, especially with the gun laws. So I have been speaking to lawyers, and they have provided me with a list of things that they believe the laws can be challenged in the WA courts, not High Court challenge. There is another fundraiser who's doing some great work looking at a High Court constitutional challenge. I don't have the time or the money to do that. And I'm more convinced after everything that I've read and everything that I know about the legal action side of things, that WA court-based challenges is where we can have the most wins. So I've launched that legal action fundraiser. I'm halfway there. Thank you to everyone who's donated. It's been really inspiring to see the support that I've got, because I'm just one person. I'm not sponsored by any organisation or any business or any firearm manufacturer, nothing. I'm just one person who's in a position at the moment where I have the time to dedicate more of my time to the fight. So I've launched that legal action. Please donate if you can. The quicker I can make the money, the quicker I can get started. And I really want to have the first case before the judge on April 1 when the laws come into effect. That's what my lawyers want. That's what I want. We cannot wait for a political solution. Firearm laws will not be the first thing on the agenda of the new government. They just won't. They've got 1,000 other things to deal with before they even turn their minds to gun laws. And that also depends on who makes up the parliament at that time as well. So I know everyone wants a change, and I'm excited to see the results at the election. I'm really hopeful that we can get a strong crossbench, like similar to New South Wales, who has a similar upper house voting policy. So we'll see, but I'm pushing ahead with my legal action challenge. I've already begun work with my lawyers despite not raising enough money yet, but we're getting started because we believe that this is the best way and the quickest way that we can challenge these laws. So I just wanted to provide an update on that, because I know a lot of people are following me because of that action. I'll just have a look at some of my questions. I do have a nice South Australian red vino tonight, so cheers. It's hump day. Yeah, I've been dry since I've been sick, so cheers. Yeah, Zane's got some good comments. I've spent 11 plus years in the army. I'm on several lists past both unit and army snipers cases. Well, it was interesting, Zane, in WA, the first people they disarmed was the veterans who shoot long-range precision rifles, and Police Minister Paul Parlier is also the Veterans Minister. So there you go, nothing like a slap in the face to people who serve for our country and knows how to use these firearms more than he would. So that's where we're at. Yeah, Shooter Down Under has said, honestly, screw the shooting organisations. I think it's important to keep in mind that the representatives for those organisations who have been involved in the meetings, they are at the table to represent their organisations. So they are looking at things like, how are we going to survive as an organisation with these laws? That's why you see things in there about mandatory club membership. And I know I've said that before. In Queensland after 1996, that's what SSAA Queensland up there fought for and got mandatory club membership for firearm ownership. We are seeing that in WA now with the hunters who can't own more than 5 firearms. They're trying to funnel them into the clubs if they want to keep their other firearms. So it's all about protecting their organisations. No one was at the table advocating for individual rights. I was deliberately kept out of meetings, so I couldn't go in there because that's what I would have been talking about. I've already said that if the idea of gun limits was even discussed, I would have shut that down. So that's why we're at the point that we're at. And I really hope one day that we have another organisation that represents the next generation of shooters, because with all due respect, a lot of our organisations are run by the older generation, and I have a lot of respect for them. My dad is actively involved in organisations here in South Oz, specifically SSAA Conservation Wildlife Management. He's been a member for a long time, and I'm so respectful for everything that he's done. But what about the next generation? Who is sitting at the table ensuring that our generation and the next generation actually have the ability to keep owning firearms and the ability to learn how to shoot and the ability to go out and hunt if they're making it so bloody hard to even get a license? So I hope one day we do get an organization like they have in America. I encourage people to look up Firearms Policy Coalition. They are my favorite gun organization in America. They've helped me out a lot too. I met some of them when I was there last year. Gun Owners of America too. They are fantastic about individual rights because they're not there to protect their organization. They actually don't believe they should exist because they have the Second Amendment. They only exist because all these laws keep coming up that take away individual rights and infringe on the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. So they're very clear that they don't want to exist. They do it because they have to. That's not the position that we're in Australia. These organisations here exist because they want to and because they get kickbacks from the government for rangers. We are forced to be a member of their organisations. Even if we don't like what they're doing, what other choice do we have? We're in the corner. It's us against them. We're losing at the moment, and that's why I'm a big advocate for a complete change in system of government, because it's no longer representing what the people want. Thanks, Elliot. Thanks, Kate. Good to hear you have good things to say about Uncle Bob. We are all grateful you've made it through that hard time. I'm grateful too. And it's funny how quickly things can change. The day that I got the call to say I wasn't going to be staying there anymore and I had to vacate the property that I was being housed at is the same day I had an interview scheduled with one of the presidential candidates for the Libertarian Party in America. So I had the call at an hour before I had to do this interview, and I nearly put it off because I was devastated. I was crying. I felt sick. I didn't know what to do. Where was I going to go? How was I going to get money? Where was I going to live? I was quite a mess, but I had this interview scheduled with Mike Tamat, who ended up being the vice presidential candidate at the election for the Libertarian Party. Chase Oliver was a presidential candidate. I got to meet him too when I went across. But if I didn't do that interview with Mike, he's the one who invited me over to America to the convention where they voted on their candidates and where Donald Trump spoke. RFK Jr. was there as well. So it just shows how quickly, if I had cancelled that interview and spent the day crying and not knowing what to do, which is what I felt like doing, I wouldn't have got the invitation and the support from the Americans who wanted me over there like that. As soon as they heard about my plight, they were like, get on a plane, we're bringing you to America, we respect what you do, get over here. And it just goes to show resilience is something I've learned a lot, especially working in politics. So thank you. And thanks to everyone. I also put up a GoFundMe back then because I didn't have any money. I didn't know if I was going to get paid for the work I'd done either. It was a very, very, very scary time being on the other side of the country all alone. Aussie Reviews was 5 hours away and he was busy. He couldn't help me. So, yeah, I'm just grateful as well that I survived and I went on from that across to America a week later. So it just goes to show, and that's a lesson to everyone when we're having, not to be all philosophical or turn this into a therapy session, but you never know what's around the corner. So always have hope, even though it seems your world is ending. There can be a light at the end of the tunnel as long as it's not a train, unless you like trains like me. Scully, 1994. Has any evidence been requested, subpoenaed? That's spelt wrong, sorry. Subpoenaed, proving the police are cracking down on illegal gun smuggling, 3D printing, instead of taking the easy path and cracking down on legal gun owners? I don't think so. There was no evidence in that report that Gun Control Australia put out to show that any link between law-abiding firearm owners and an increase in gun crime. I mean, that's the thing, right? They just put scary statistics. Ooh, however, more people own guns in Australia than before 1996. Yes, but it's more regulated than 1996, and there's been no incidents. What's your problem? And the incidents that have happened, which I do want to talk about tonight, especially the Floreat shooting, most of the time these people who are licensed firearm owners, they have been flagged with police. Man Monas, if everyone remembers the Sydney siege, I remember it because I was working for SSAA National at the time as the media officer. So my phone, this was just before Christmas, was ringing off the hook because there were rumours that he was a licensed firearm owner. He wasn't. He did have a security license that had since lapsed, but the media were calling me, who was representing lawful firearm owners who go shooting as a sport or for hunting, asking about this madman who was out on bail for being an accessory to murdering his ex-wife, and then he held up the Lint Cafe in Sydney. That's just the problem. The police know this information. They fail to act, and this is exactly what happened in Floreat. I always pronounce that wrong, sorry, but Floreat in Perth. The murders that happened there, that man who the family had reported to the police saying he has been threatening, he is violent, he has a gun because he's a licensed firearm owner. Can you please do something about this because we are scared for our lives? We all know what happened. It's been in the news. And then Police Minister Paul Papalia has the nerve and the gall to come out and say it was the result of the old gun laws that let this happen. I'm sorry, your police that you are the minister of knew that this man was a threat to this family. There were reports on threats to the family. I saw the uncle of one of the nieces has come out and said he feels disgusted because his family would still be alive today if the police had actually acted on the information that they were given. But the police minister's excuse is it was the old law's problem. No, it was your fault. It was a failure of leadership from you and from Wapol, who did nothing to protect this family. The blood is on your hands. Sorry, I don't want to be dramatic about it, but when I saw that story, I was in Texas. I remember it clearly. I was in Dallas, Texas, and I saw that come up. And I was horrified and I just felt sick because I have been, and I've spoken about this before as well, I have been through domestic violence situations in my life, and I didn't have the ability to defend myself despite being a pistol shooter who has won medals for her sports. I couldn't defend myself in my own home, and yet you make me rely on the police who turned up later when harm had already been caused, gave this bloke a piece of paper as if that was going to protect me, and he still contacted me after that. I am so sick politicians telling the people to rely on the police to protect them, and then when we do rely on them, we still end up harmed. That self-defense in Australia, we have a God-given right to self-defense, and that can be with whatever means necessary. If you're not the kind of person who feels comfortable with a firearm, maybe you need to have some training. But if you prefer pepper spray or any other weapon that you can use to defend your own life, and the right to life extends to the right to defend your life. So I'm sick of this domestic violence debate in Australia that puts it in our heads that the police will save us, the government will save us, the services providers will save us. No one is coming to save us, and we should all know that by now. The only person who can protect you is yourself, and we should be given that right. That should be enshrined for every Australian with whatever means possible. And I'm so devastated for the family. And when I read the comment on Facebook from the uncle, my heart just broke, and I have extended an invitation to him if he wants to talk about it. I know the ABC did a story about his comments on Facebook, but if he would ever like to sit down with me and just talk about it and have that conversation, I'm willing to talk to him. I would love to talk to him because he's lost family members because of Police Minister Paul Papalia and his leadership and WAPO, and it's not good enough. It is not good enough. There is blood on his hands. So, sorry, I'm a bit fired up tonight. G'day, Tim Molesworth. He's in the chat. No, stuff the organisations. None of them get my money anymore. Good on you, Tim. Thank you for joining me on my New Year's live stream. It was such a fun time. I was getting into the mood of the celebration. If you weren't there for my live stream party, Tim, who's from Victoria, he's a bloody legend. He has run for office before as well. He'd be great if he ever got elected in Parliament. We need more salt of the earth people like him. Please have a look at that New Year's Eve special. I had Dan Taxation is Theft Berman from America over there. He's got his own wine company called Blood of Tyrants, which I just love. I got to go to Freedom Fest in Vegas and help him promote his amazing product. Not bad wine for Californian wine. I'm trying to get him an Australian winemaker because we're just so much better over here. But if you want to watch that New Year's special, I was having a great time. Mr. Liberty was there with me too. Axel Winter, my husband. So thank you, Tim, for joining in. It's good to see you in the chat. Matthew Hickman. Hi, Kate from the Great Southern. Are there any statistics on loss or theft of firearms from licensed holders in WA? I would say it's close to zero, otherwise they would publish it. Cheers. Well, interesting you say that, Matt. I don't know if you recall, but back in 2022, when the WA government announced they were reforming the firearm laws in their entirety, the way they went about announcing that is they directed the Firearms Registry, but when I say they, I mean my mate, Police Minister Paul Papalia, directed the Firearms Registry to give a list of the addresses where licensed firearms were stored. They broke it down into pistol, rifle and shotgun. They had different coloured dots for each, and they put that on the front page of the Western Australian newspaper, or as I call it, the Wank Australian newspaper, pardon my French. And basically they doxed us. They knew that there was no Privacy Act in WA. WA is the only state that doesn't have a Privacy Act, and it did not breach federal laws regarding privacy, which you would think is also another issue. I mean, these are our private property for starters, and we're told in the media that it's scary if we have them. So why would you publicly release a list of where all the firearms are held in the state? And a few weeks after that, a bloke's house was broken into and he was set on fire and his firearms were stolen. I don't think they recovered those firearm owners' firearms either. I know my good mate Ralph Foley, who was in the chat a few weeks ago, mentioned the same thing about recovery of firearms that were stolen. And remember, Back in 1996, we were told registration of our firearms is so that if any are stolen, the police can do a great job of finding them. Never the case. Registration was never about that. It was always the path to confiscation. That's why they know where all the firearms are in Australia now. That's why they know who to come knocking on doors on April 1 in WA if you own more than 5, if you're a hunter, or 10 if you're a competitive shooter. Registration always leads to confiscation. So it was never about recovering stolen firearms. And most of the firearms from my time at SSAA National, most of the illegal firearms that were reported in government reports and other independent reports, it was found that they were smuggled in illegally for criminal trade, for the drug war. We wouldn't have a drug war if we had a adult response to drugs, which is respecting bodily autonomy. And the person has the right to do with their body as they see fit, as long as they're not hurting anyone else. So I apply that across the board to everything, including drug use. Obviously, there are problems with addiction. That's where I believe there should be a safety net for those kinds of things. But if we didn't have a ban on drugs, especially cannabis, can't buy that recreationally here. You can in America. You can also buy mushrooms too, and LSD now in Colorado. Great state if you haven't been there. And I did go to Granby, where the bulldozer event happened. That was another magical moment on that journey as well. But yeah, most of the firearms are stolen from us and not recovered, and they're not a priority, to be frank. The police are more interested in WA about wanding people and searching people for knives. They have KPIs for that now, I've heard. How many people have you wandered today or checked for knives? And that's another thing that I should mention quickly. There is the gun rally this weekend in Perth. Saturday it is. I've spoken quite candidly about why I'm opposed to the event being held in that location. I would love if it was held in a private venue where people's privacy is respected. Unfortunately, it is in an area in the Perth CBD where police can stop and search without a warrant, wand people for weapons without any suspicion. They will be photographing attendees, and there's CCTV in the area. So I know that I did speak at the Freedom rallies, if people remember, from that early 2020s, and in the lead up to the federal election in 2022, I did speak at the Freedom rallies, including the biggest rally we ever had in Perth, in Forest Chase there, a week out from the federal election. And I got up and I said that our liberties have been eroded by government since 1996. And now we're at the point where we were at that time, where we had so much control over our lives, and it's just gotten worse since then. And I made the decision to speak at that event because I have been called a hypocrite to my face for speaking at that event and opposing the gun rally. And I took into account that I was running as a candidate for the federal election for the Liberal Democrats, which is David Leyonhjelm's former party and my former party. It doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And it was my duty as a candidate who believes in liberty, who believes in freedom, who wants people to be left alone in peace as long as we're not hurting anyone else. I made that decision to speak at that event, knowing it would be recorded, knowing police would be there and taking notes, knowing I would end up on a list. I think I was already on one anyway. So I made that decision because I felt it was my duty to go to that and speak, and I stand by everything I've said at that rally. The video is up on my YouTube and Facebook if you want to have a look at what I said. I was very nervous because I was saying some, what people might think, radical things, but I was just speaking the truth, what I believe and what I've seen since 96. I mean, I remember my dad having to hand in firearms, and he's a peaceful person. He's been a teacher his whole life, taught me everything I know about shooting, and to see him treated like that because the actions of a madman in Tassie, who was also known to police, by the way. It was a dark time in Australian history, and it was an opportunity for the politicians, including John Howard, the Liberal Prime Minister at the time, to bring in laws. And he is on the record as saying he'd only believes the military, the police, and security guards for the elite should own firearms in this country. That was his belief as a conservative. Conservatives typically aren't that authoritarian. They typically respect private property rights. Not in Australia, not at that time. And the National Party, Tim Fischer, he went along with it too. He sold us out. He sold out the bush. And a lot of people still can't forgive the Nationals for that. And I'm one of them. I know they have promised in WA to review the gun laws in their entirety and promised to rewrite them. My concerns about that is who will they have at the table when they're rewriting the laws, because they've only been talking to one organisation in that state. So I'm very concerned about entrusting our future with a few groups. I think that's how the mafia works. But yeah, very dark times. And so if anyone is going to the rally, I've had a few people message me and say they feel they have to go. They've got nothing left to lose. They don't care if the police are going to search them. They don't care if they're going to be photographed. This is the level people have been beaten down in WA, to the point where they understand it's a police state. They don't like it, but they feel this is a rally, is a chance for them to stand up and have their voices heard. You do have an election on the 8th of March where you can have your voice heard. And this is also why I have organised a town hall firearms forum specifically about the gun laws on the 27th of February. I have locked in candidates from a lot of the parties. I invited everyone who was running in the upper house. And I can confirm I've had the Honourable Nick Gorian from the Liberal Party, who has been vocal in opposing the gun laws and has promised for a full review, which is in contradiction to what his party leader has promised. He's gone out on a limb because he just does not, he's horrified at the consultation period, at what happened with that. He doesn't believe the laws took into account what the people wanted, which is true. I wrote a submission when they put out that consultation paper. The laws still came out. Nothing was changed from the initial laws that they put out as a draft. So he is confirmed as speaking. I also have Stuart Austell from Shooters and Fishers Farmers Party. He's their lead candidate. He's been in the trenches a long time, like I have, in the party for Shooters and Fishers there. So he's also personally devastated by the laws. So he's put his hat in the ring and he'll be speaking at that event. I've also got pleased to announce that the Legalised Cannabis Party of Western Australia has announced a candidate in that seat of Secret Harbour to run against Police Minister Paul Papalia. So he will be there representing the party. Dr. Brian Walker is at another campaign event that night. I know it's getting close to the wire there and everyone's busy. So grateful to have the Secret Harbour candidate for legalised cannabis there. It's still only a 3-horse race at the moment. Liberals, Labor, and now legalised cannabis. So I'll be doing everything I can to help him. I've got Mariko Gronwald from Christians, and they have also promised a full review of the firearms laws. That's something they've been very vocal on. I'm also pleased to confirm the Libertarian Party candidate, Ryan Burns, is coming to my event. So I'm so grateful. I saw that he is speaking at the rally. And honestly, if I was the candidate for the Libertarian Party at this election, which in a former life would have been my dreams come true, but unfortunately things in life don't always go the way you plan, especially when your party changes and different people get involved and factions take over and all of the bullshit that comes with politics. Ryan Burns is speaking at the rally this weekend, and that's what I would do if I was a candidate. So really interested to see what he has to say, and good on him for going, because it takes balls to stand up at an event like that, knowing that you will be filmed by the police. It is quite a risk. After my Senate campaign, my professional career was dead in Australia. So maybe that's something to keep in mind, Ryan, if you don't get across the line in March, because it is quite a tight race. There are a lot of minor party candidates contesting the election. But so yes, February 27th is my Upper House Town Hall event at the German Club in Myrie in Perth. I'll be putting up a link to tickets after the show. So please come along. It's only $20 a ticket, and that's just to cover expenses. So that's something I want to give to the community and do for the community there, for people who aren't comfortable going to a big rally in the venue that it's in. come along to my event. You can ask questions of the candidates. It'll be about you. It won't be about me. I will be the MC, so I'll be asking some curly questions too. But please come along and ask your representatives, what's your plan outside of the shooting organisations, outside of all the other crap that goes on and all the echo chamber of social media. Come along, ask them. I'm hoping the One Nation candidate, Rod Caddies, will come too. It just depends if he's in Perth at the time, because he's travelling around the state. Oh, how good it would be to have money to run a campaign where you can travel around Perth. I wish I had that money for my Senate campaign, but got by on the smell of an oily rag, and I still did all right. I was still up there with David Limbrick and Campbell Newman's vote, despite not having the money and support that they had. So I'm proud of my efforts, and I'm devastated I can't run again this time in WA, because I'd love to be in the parliament there and giving them all a stir. Wouldn't you love to see it? But the timing is not right for me. Thanks to everyone tuning in. Happy Wednesday night. Happy hump day. My name's Kate Ventinel, or Lady Liberty. I'm sitting here in my dad's amazing gun room. Yes, that's me shooting a belt fed. He loves my gun pictures. He's a proud dad. Another sign I brought him back from America. I bring back so much stuff for him when I go over there. I brought him back a scope, actually, for my little pistol that I've since transferred across to him, because I didn't want to leave that in WA. It would be confiscated on April 1, that's for sure, probably for my views, attitudes and opinions. Dealmaz85's back in the chat. Hello, thanks for joining me again. Just realised I was watching the stream on Facebook like a boomer. Now I feel a little better. How good is Meta, though? I know that old mate, the owner of Facebook, what's his bloody name? Axel will message it to me in a minute. I'm blanking tonight. He's apparently a libertarian now, despite taking money from the government during the pandemic to shut down free speech. So we'll see if Meta gets any better. I have been suspended a few times for breaching community guidelines. So Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg. And please throw any questions in the chat. I'm just ranting away again. Sorry. That's what I tend to do. I am going on a podcast, Hunters Campfire podcast, if the hunters know that one. We were recording last night. We were having the best conversation. I think I blew them away a bit because I was just like very full on from the start. But the internet of my computer crashed. So I'm not sure if I was hacked, as in the state shut me down for what I was saying. But yeah, it completely crashed. We got about halfway through and conversation ended. So I'm re-recording that tomorrow, Hunters Campfire podcast. It should be out soon after that. But I'm just trying to do what I can to get the word out about what I'm doing for the fight in WA. Interestingly, people from other states have been horrified watching. I even said to the blokes last night, what would you do if you were limited to 5 guns as a hunter? And they said, we don't even want to think about that. Like, that would be like waking up in our worst nightmare. And we saw last week out of that Gun Control Australia report about too many firearms in Australia, they suggested limits on the number of firearms we own. Something that I've been warning, and Aussie reviews too, these laws are not going to just be in one jurisdiction. They are going to spread. This is what politicians do. As soon as something gets more restrictive, especially when it comes to guns, they will point at that jurisdiction and say, we need to copy that too. The NFA, the National Firearms Agreement, is dead. It was never a legally binding agreement in the first place, and I was horrified to see organisations, even last week, SSAA National that I used to work for, put out a statement saying states need to adhere to the NFA. No, they don't. States hold the residual rights for regulating and legislating firearms. The NFA should never be held up by any organisation as some kind of holy grail on what states should do. No, we're a commonwealth. We're a competitive federalised government. States can do what they want. We saw that in COVID, good or bad. I definitely had an interesting experience in Western Australia, that's for sure. But gun organisations in Australia now pointing to Howard's NFA as if that's what everyone should be doing. No, that should be burnt up too. It needs to be about what the people want, balancing public safety, of course. There still has to be some kind of laws that regulate our industry. I would like it much more if regulation was self-imposed, because we actually do a great job of that in the shooting world. We're really good at making sure if our mate points a gun incorrectly at a range, oh God, if you see that happen, everyone's on their case straight away. We're actually one of the most self-regulating communities in Australia, I would have to say. So pointing to the NFA and telling WA you've gone too far, the NFA went too far. That argument is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. We should be advocating for what individuals want and balancing our traditions, our hunting traditions, our culture, our sport with what's best for everybody. We're not weighing that up anymore. It's one-way street. It's more regulation, total control. And please, 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 for the love of God, can we stop pointing to the NFA as something WA should be adhering to, because they don't have to, and it's crap anyway. Tim Molesworth, I still never did get my hands on one of your core flutes from your campaign. By far my favourite Liberal Democrat core flute. They were bold, gun-proud libertarian. I'm sorry I never gave one to you, Tim. When I was leaving WA, I had some in my shed out the back, and I chucked it up on Facebook, and I had people coming around to collect them. I know some people use them as target backings, and I said, as long as you don't shoot my pretty face, you can have them. But sorry, yeah, they were good. Maybe I should do a special run of them. If you haven't seen them, I've posted them on my Facebook page. I was shooting my Browning Buckmark in one of them, and then a mate's 308 Lee Enfield in another one. Love that gun, such a kick to it, but God, it felt good hitting the target with that. Love it. Yeah, I was proud to run on that campaign, by the way. It nearly got me disendorsed because there were people, and there are people in the newly formed Libertarian Party, which is based on the Liberal Democrats, but not the same. They wanted me disendorsed for that campaign because they didn't want me talking about guns. They wanted me talking about the Freedom Manifesto, which I fully subscribe to, and that's a great document. The Freedom Manifesto from 2022 election. I think it was still floating around somewhere on the internet. That had a policy on nuclear energy too, which I fully subscribe to. But yeah, I nearly got disendorsed for that, Tim. Thanks for bringing that up. Now I'm angry again. Shooter Down Under. I know I already asked this question, but have you or anyone else signed up for community notes on X? I need other people to sign up to help shift the Overton window. No, but Mr. Liberty is watching, and he is on X all the time. He is chronically online, to the point sometimes he just starts ranting at me about something Elon said or something Trump's done or the Libertarian Party over there. It's, yeah. So no, I haven't, but I should. I think I'll get the advice from Mr. X, Mr. Liberty, and he will tell me if I need to do that. But I do love X, and I am on there, Lady Liberty Oz, AUS, that's my handle. Been posting a little bit more on there. I find it's a bit more clickbaity these days than it used to be because it's been monetized so much. So people are just constantly trying to get stuff out. And I only really say something when I have something to say, not for the sake of saying it. I've always been like that. If you ever meet me in person and if I'm quiet, it's because I prefer to listen. Obviously not at the moment because I'm talking to myself in my dad's gun room, but yeah, I tend to err on the side of not saying things unnecessarily, especially if they're hurtful. If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it, as my grandma used to say. Glenn Sekulik. Sorry if I butchered your last name. Papali is working straight out of the Hugo Chavez playbook for civilian disarmament. This is something I've been quite vocal about too, especially with the Labor Party. So the Labor Party, a lot of people in WA were surprised when the gun laws were announced at just how far they went. And a lot of people were questioning what were they trying to achieve, because gun crime in WA is quite low anyway. There's a bit of a biking thing going on there, like there is in Adelaide and Melbourne. But one of the questions from that was, what are they trying to achieve? Like, what problem are they trying to solve? Because there hasn't been any major incidents, apart from ones that were known to police, as we know in the Floreat shooting. Nothing is in WA with gun laws has ever been an issue. And then next minute we see the police on the news saying they're taking away high velocity powered firearms, which is the long range precision rifles, because they could be used to snipe at police and police vehicles. The bullets would penetrate one of their bobcats. I don't think it's bobcat. You know what I'm trying to say. So what problem are they trying to solve? There is none. And the Labor policy in their position papers is they are socialists. They subscribe to the socialist political philosophy. And socialists believe, and it's all a derivative of communism as well, socialists believe, and fascism too, by the way, which I liken Police Minister Paul Papalia to, socialists believe that only the police, military, and security for the elite should own guns. They do not believe in private firearm ownerships, full stop. Karl Marx, if anyone's read him, he believes that, yes, you should arm the proletariat, you should arm the working class, but as soon as you achieve socialist utopia, all the guns will be destroyed and everyone will live in harmony without guns. So he does believe, ironically, in gun ownership to a point, but then get rid of all of them. So they don't acknowledge sport shooting as a legitimate sport. They don't acknowledge hunting as for food for the table, like my dad has done, as legitimate activity at all. They don't believe that guns should be used in feral pest control or animal control. No, they only believe that the police, the military, and the security for the elite should own guns. So when I saw these laws come out in WA, and you're exactly right, it is a leaf out of those kind of commie dictators' playbook. And I know people think I'm radical or extreme for saying that. Actually, the government in WA is the radical ones. They're the ones disarming you because you own an arbitrary number of firearms that was suggested at the meetings with the shooting organisations, for fuck's sake. Like, this is where we're at in WA now. The government believes that they are above the people. They should control the people. They've turned it into a total police state where they can do whatever they like to the people without any consequences, like we've seen at the Floreat shooting. No consequences for anyone. Everyone just carries on in their positions. People died that could have been prevented. Oh, well, this is a result of your police force and your leadership. It's not a failure of us, the people. It's a failure of you. You did not protect the people. Yeah, Dilmas, because communism works so well every time it's been tried. I agree. It's never worked. It never will work. I am actually genuinely concerned that Australia is on a similar path to what Argentina was under the Peronism before President Javier Milei came along. So I feel like the inflation that we're seeing in Australia now is it is getting up there. It's unsustainable, the path we're on. We'll probably see a rate cut before the election, as they do, but it won't be enough to change the prices. Like I said at the start of the stream, 81% of people in the area in South Australia where I am at the moment are in mortgage stress. How do you even survive? My heart goes out to all these families, and seeing people who work so hard and have good paying jobs and still can't afford to make ends meet. I mean, this is not the Australia that my parents grew up in. I mean, they had to work hard and sacrifice to put a roof over the head of 3 kids and put us through private school and help us get to university. But that's just out of reach for a lot of people, and it's terrifying to think. I'm really terrified to think what Australia will look like, not in a year's time, but 5 years' time. I'm really scared to think um, how bad Australia is going, and I don't think the federal election, sorry to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't think that's going to provide much relief, if any at all. I mean, Peter Dutton, yes, he might get in, but keep in mind he's a cop. He's a cop from Queensland, and cops are typically authoritarians. God knows what he thinks about gun laws. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see much relief in Australia for a long time, and that's something that keeps me up at night, to be honest. Please put any questions in the chat. I think I've been jumping all over the place tonight, but I'm just trying to get through as much information as I can. Oh, thanks, Mark Cooper. Thank you for everything you do. God bless you. Thank you, Mark. I'm trying, and I'll always try. I have days where I don't want to get out of bed and I'm crying and I'm upset, but I'll always try, and I genuinely do it for the people, and that's something that I just feel like the politicians, there is no political solution, especially in WA. So that's why I've launched the legal action. Anything I can do to help the people, because that's what I care about at the end of the day. I don't care about party politics or whose factions and who. That's why I'm not involved in political parties anymore. It's just a waste of time and energy, and it's all about who gets elected and what's in it for them and their snouts in the trough, and suddenly their principles are gone and it's a career for them. And I really think Australia needs a referendum on becoming a republic, and then a constitution written for the people by the people. That's what I'm hoping for one day. Oh, so I've been going for over an hour now. I do have to jump off soon because I am in an important meeting at 9:30, which is 7 o'clock WA time, with an organisation over there who's being politically active, and I'm trying to help them as much as I can. Yes, I have told them there is no political solution, and I beg them to help me with my legal action, but you can lead a horse to water, and they have supported me in other ways. They are helping me with my Town Hall Firearms Forum event. So yes, as soon as I get off this stream, I will be posting a link to the tickets. It's just $20 to cover the expenses. It's at the German Club in Myrie in Perth. Great beers if you haven't been there before. I promise you that at least you'll get a great beer out of it. Putting the line up online as well. Like I said, I've got the Honourable Nick Gorion for the Liberals, who has just been in there fighting for us in Parliament. One of the good Liberals, one of the few good Liberals, I have to say, but he's a bloody legend. I've got Stuart Austell from Shooters and Farmers, Ryan Burns from the Libertarian Party. Thanks, Ryan, for coming. No, it must have been a hard decision, but we can have a civil chat. That's what it's about, right? One Nation guys, hopefully coming. Rod Caddy's Marika Gronwald from Christians, and Jim Matters is the legalised cannabis party person running in Secret Harbour against Paul Papalia. He is a shooter. He was in the gunnery department when he was in the Navy, so he knows what he's talking about. It's so great to have him there in the absence of Dr. Brian Walker. Big boots to fill, but I'm sure he'll be great, and I'll be doing everything I can to support Jim in his campaign in that seat. Hopefully I can help him with preference deals too. Anything we can to get rid of the police minister. And honestly, after seeing the news this week about what happened in Floreat with the shooting there, I do not know how he still has that portfolio. He must know where the bodies are buried or something, because he has not been serving the people. For someone who served in the military, it's been so surprising to me, because I have a lot of mates in the military. I was married to a lieutenant commander from the Navy who I still have great respect for, and he's still one of my closest friends. So to see a former military man acting in a way that is not serving the people, it's disgusting, to be frank. I don't think he is fit to lead or serve. He has turned WA into a total police state, which is why I'm concerned about the gun rally this weekend, with the level of the police involvement and the ability to search people without a warrant. I mean, that just like that, they overturned hundreds of years of people believing that you had to have a cause for suspicion to search people, not in WA, not in public areas, not in Northbridge, not in Elizabeth Quay where this event is being held. I mean, even that is something that just changed like that, and everyone just has to go along with it because it's a one-party police state. He is really, I believe, a danger to society, and he should not be in the position that he's in. So anything I can do to help, especially in that seat now that I'm not running, unfortunately, because I would have loved to give him hell. Fight fascism with liberty was going to be my slogan. Maybe I'll still print a shirt and put that on it because that's what I truly believe we should be doing in that state. But I will be back February 24th. I cannot wait. I know I'm going to cry when I get back in Perth. Cannot wait to see everyone. I will be hosting the event on the 27th of February at the German Club. It's from 6 o'clock. So please come along. If you don't want to listen to politicians, you can have a chat and a beer with me. So that make it enjoyable at least. And thank you for tuning in. I will be doing another live stream Sunday night at the usual time of 8 o'clock South Australian time, which I think is 5:30 WA time. I'm still all I know. I have to keep American time zones in my head too. So just trying to keep up with where I am. But yes, I'll be back in WA. Please, thank you. Thank you for everyone who's supporting my legal action campaign. I'm halfway there and I've started work already with my lawyers. Yes, they're working for free because I said we still have to do this. Like, I will get the money. I'm going to be hustling in WA. I'll be going to all the gun shops and the gun clubs. Thank you to those who have put up a poster advertising the link to the GoFundMe. That's helped substantially. And thank you to everyone who's donated, because I can't do the work without your support. And it's imperative that we get this advice so we can challenge these laws in the courts. That will be the quickest solution. This King's Counsel that I've got, this is the highest advice you can get from a lawyer in Perth. He's willing to go. I just need to raise enough money because they can't work. They're working at a decreased cost already because it's me and because I can negotiate, but we still need to get enough money just so I can get it across the line. And as soon as I get that advice, as soon as I get it in my hand, I'll be showing everyone, because that's my duty. That's what I promised to you. I'm sorry I can't run at the election. I'm still devastated. I still dream about what I would do if I was running. But I promised you I will get you this legal advice so you know where we stand. We can take it to a judge and we can get them to rule that aspects of these laws are invalid and they have to be rescinded. It's as simple as that. We have to do this. This is the quickest way. We can't rely on a political solution. We can't rely on our shooting organizations to protect individuals anymore. They're protecting themselves. Good luck to you. Like, honestly, hope you retire happy while we're all struggling, giving up our guns. But everything I do it for the people. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a purpose. I wouldn't have got out of Queensland. I wouldn't still be here. I barely made it through WA during that time, being locked behind the border for 2.5 years, away from my family. It was just this passion in me and this fight against injustice and against the state hurting people for no justified reason. That's why I get up and do what I do every day. So thank you for your support. Thanks for listening to me. Sorry, I've been a bit all over the place tonight and I'm losing my voice again. But I've got to jump off now to get on this meeting about the WA election, because it's not far now, 8th of March. I'm doing what I can behind the scenes to try and influence that part of the world, because yes, I know we still have to participate in the political side of things, even though it's not going to provide a quick solution. I'll try and do what I can there to influence the outcome so that it benefits the people. And anyone who wants to advance liberty, I'll form a coalition with you, and I'm happy to come to the table and work through what we can. So thanks everyone for joining me tonight. It's great to see you. Thanks to everyone who dumped in the chat. Sorry I didn't get through all the questions and comments. I do go back and read them after, so I'll have a read. And I will see you Sunday night. I'll be back online. Thank you everybody, and have a good Hump Day Wednesday.